Seduction is a solution a lot of the time. I tell people all the time, when it comes to politicians and you want to take down the government, you're going to have to do it with sex. You're going to have to do it with, because one thing a politician, a crooked cop, a crooked politician, one thing they love is a strip club. One thing they love is, like their special private accounts.
Greetings and welcome to
YAS Podcast, formerly known as
YAS Stripper Podcast.
This is our podcast, all of ours.
A podcast for all sex workers.
In this podcast, we will discuss the ins and outs, ups and downs of our lives and experiences as sex workers. I am your host, Daisy Ducati.
I am your Hopra, Gigi Holiday.
I'm your stripper queen from the north, Onyx.
I'm AM Davies, and this is YAS Podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daisy Ducati, and I'll be your host today for the YAS Podcast. Thank you for being here with us. So before we get started on today's episode, I want to remind you that YAS Podcast is produced by YAS Work, a nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to changing public perception in the media. If you love our podcast, please consider donating because donations like yours keep our project going. So head to yaswork.org/donate. Thank you so much. So we are here today with our guest, Lolo Lavish, and she's the High Siren. Lolo, do you use, what pronouns do you use?
She, her.
That's what I thought. So she is a Houston-made mermaid on a mission, and her story is that of a modern-day sea queen in a patriarchal society. So thank you so much, Lolo, for joining us. How are you?
Problem. I'm great. I'm excited. Thank you guys for asking me on to the show.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us. So, do you identify as a sex worker?
Yeah. It's funny. Right now, I'm just extremely busy with the store. But if there's ever somebody that I feel like gives me the money I want, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be easily hired. I wouldn't be easily hired in the clubs. They're very fatphobic here in Houston. But yeah, I feel like once you're kind of always, I tried to get back into my OnlyFans, my webcamming, but I've just been so busy. But yeah, I still claim it.
I hear you. So what have you been working on? I know you have your store. Tell us a little bit about that.
The store is so funny because I had it before I knew I was a psychic medium. And it was just the basis of my heart was I wanted to open up my own exotic dance club, a queer exotic dance club. And I started working for an exotic wear store in 2018. And then from there, I did my own store. And then in 2020, that's when I found out I was a medium and I started on this spiritual path. But what I learned is that the clothing, the bras, they were already the mermaid in me. It didn't go anywhere. I didn't have to stop, doing exotic wear. It was just already oozing out of me. So now it's what I try to explain to other people so that they don't feel like it's confusing because it's not two different things forced together. It's just me learning, oh, I've been a mermaid this whole time. Got it.
So what does it mean to you to be a mermaid?
It could be a lot of things. For me, it's an ancestral connection to the water. It just means that you notice that you have mermaid abilities in a modern world. So when I work with liquids of any kind, whether that's bodily fluids, whether it's perfume, or whether it's going to the ocean, when I manifest or do spiritual work with liquid, with water, it's way stronger than another element. But also just when you start to research mermaids, you'll realize that you've been visited by them already. You may not have known that they were there. So for a lot of people, yeah, it's based off, a spiritual connection, like what they feel close to.
Beautiful. And how did you first discover your identity as a psychic medium?
That was crazy. My family already saw me doing very odd things when I was little that they didn't tell me about. But it really started because I thought that I had a connection with my father. He's passed away. And I thought everybody had that ability to hear their parents or somebody that they were close to. But then somebody else's father started visiting me. And then from there, it just became, I was able to predict things for people like friends, my mom, it just came out all of a sudden in 2020. Like I had dreams that were prophetic about what would happen the next day. Yeah, so I found out in 2020, officially like, oh, I didn't know anything about spirituality.
Was it scary at first when you first started having these realizations?
Yeah, I wasn't on like spiritual TikTok. So I didn't actually have anybody to turn to. Mm, I felt like I was going through spiritual psychosis in the beginning of it. We were dealing with quarantine. I was in the house. I'm talking about I had like posters and I was writing things down, like crashing out. I was trying to connect dots, but yeah, it was scary. It wasn't until I got on the internet more where I saw like, oh, okay, so there's like a whole collective of people that they think this stuff is cool. I didn't know.
Mhm. How did you find community around your spirituality?
The internet. That's
Yeah.
why when people are very fearful of like digital devices or innovation, I'm like, there's just pros and cons to everything because one of the pros is that we can connect with people that we might not have met without internet. And that is what helped me to see, oh, there's other people that are just like me. I'm not alone. I'm not like out of my mind. So
Yeah, totally. Um, so how does your spirituality connect to sex work? Like you say that sex work is siren work. What does that mean to you?
um it at first I didn't see how it connected. At first I was wondering if I was gonna have to stop making stripper clothes. I went and got a Bible. I was trying to figure out like what am I doing? What is all of this happening to me? But as you research what you'll find, which is why I try my best to keep talking. I try to make like short lesson plans. Water is the first womb. It's the first reproductive system. And it's the reason that we have desires, the reason we have a sex drive. Water, it rules over the sacral chakra, which is the reproductive system. And so dancing, singing, you'll see in research, mermaids and sirens invented that. That was the whole point. So all of it connects back to water. And when you understand that, it's like, oh, the whole sirens sinking ships because they went after predatory sailors. That is being at the strip club. That is, profiting off of misogyny. That's what mermaids do.
Yeah, totally. Um, and how do you think sirens and mermaids challenge the patriarchy in the same way that sex workers do?
Oh, the fact that they are raw, they are authentic, but they are also shapeshifters. So there's no one side. I notice a lot of people try to separate mermaid from siren because they want the mermaid to be this like motherly, pretty, singing, creature. And then they want to say the siren is this scary, monstrous, demonic entity. But it's really just how humans are, how women are, how feminine people are. We just have different emotions. It depends on, which side of me you deserve. Do you deserve for me to be kind and happy and singing, or do I need to cuss you the fuck out? I mean, it's just, it's water and we have duality and we shapeshift. But with sex work, yeah, like it's the womb and mermaids and sirens protect the womb. And so when people see me popping off about misogyny or they see me going off about bigotry, that is a mermaid. That's a siren. They protect the womb. They protect the water.
Yeah. And if you look at like historical representations of mermaids and sirens and cultural representations, they're these complicated figures. It's not so one or the other. Like it it's there's a complex nature to it. Um so you've talked about water as the first womb, the first reproductive system, and the root of sensuality. How does this understanding shift how we think about sex work and femininity?
I want people to stop like trying to police water. Because if they knew that, our private areas, our reproductive system is water and we are 60 to 70% made of water. And if they understood how basic everything is, I think we could really free ourselves from systematic oppression. I think the root of systematic oppression has a lot to do with polluting water. I'm I want people to stop condemning their body and feeling bad for having desire. I want spiritual people to feel okay about sex and wanting sex. I just want people to be free. Water is free.
Totally. You said that that society's financial drought is linked to a sexual drought, and
Yes.
that disrespecting femininity is really disrespecting water. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, I've noticed a connection with a lot of feminine people. And why I say feminine is because two elements in astrology people will identify as feminine are going to be water and earth. And with water being feminine, I always try to tell feminine people, regardless of gender, you can't operate like a misogynist. You can't do this dried out formula where you're just hustling. You're hustling. You never rest. You're feeling guilty all the time. And colonization did a number on us, and it kind of it works against feminine creative people. And a lot of oppressed people are creatives, and we're just not built for this work and never rest system. Water will teach people to rest, to honor their flow, but systematic oppression says ignore your flow and do what the fuck I tell you to do. And so I'm starting to notice that we don't really understand water as a concept as a whole. We compartmentalize water when it truly cannot be compartmentalized. And I think that's a large reason why we are suffering, because our reproductive system, our water, our inner water is being depressed or demonized.
Totally. And you can't really work within the system that was built to oppress you. You can't work by the rules that were built to oppress you.
But no, people keep trying to do that. And it's like, but it's a coding. And that's why I kind of like the coding times to try to make it make sense to people. You're right. It wasn't even built for you. So it's like not going to apply. But yeah, I mean, reproductive system, if we're going to use the chakra terms, you know how people say the sacral chakra is your creativity and your sexuality. And so I'm like, okay, well, if there are people who are feminine, which means you are very sacral, then by condemning your reproductive area and feeling guilty about it or ignoring it, condemning and shaming sex workers, specifically female sex workers or queer ones, you're also condemning your own inner water. And the sacral chakra is how you create, it's how you reproduce, it's how you make money. So that's why I'm like, when you condemn sex, when you condemn your body, you're condemning water, meaning you're condemning money, because water is the first form of money. I try to make it make sense to people. It kind of, when I describe it, it goes in a circle. But yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And also, like, now we're entering an era where water is becoming increasingly scarce on our planet. And so it is something of high value at this point.
Yeah. And so moving forward, something that I newly did on the website is I put a link for people who are in Houston to, help to spend money on ocean conservation. I always mix up the words. Yeah, so I put a link for donating to our waters here, the Gulf waters, but I also started telling people, one of the ways that you can offer to your deity, if your deity is water, you can go clean the water, go volunteer, or you can give money to marine conservation, because yeah, we don't have nothing without water. Oh my God. And we need the ocean we need to preserve it in order to prosper. So that's where I've been taking it mentally.
Absolutely. So you're in the process of closing your physical store and transitioning to more digital online work, correct?
Yeah.
And what has that journey been like, and what does surrendering to the light mean for you?
Honestly, at first I was a little irritated because it all started with this jump, this shift. I went from being a regular person to now, if certain people identify me in public, they might cry, they might scream and be like, oh my God, it's Lolo Lavish. And some people were genuine with, just liking my content. But then it was a lot of, I'm going to call them destiny swappers or energy vampires coming into the store, giving me grief, not paying money at all, not supporting my business, just there because they're hoping that they can be famous if they stand next to me. And I needed some boundaries. So I was sad and I was irritated at first. But what I've realized is that, like we said, the internet is allowing me to connect with people that wouldn't otherwise, like my store can't physically be everywhere, but it can digitally be. And I've also decided I'm going to do events and look into peer-led support groups and, using the building a different way so that the energy vampires can't just walk in, whenever they want, but still be there and still show up for people that really need the help.
How do you protect yourself spiritually from these like malicious forces?
Oh, well, honestly, spiritual protection, especially with water, can be quite simple. So literally just taking a bottle of water and then you pray into it and you're just like, oh, I don't want this in my life. And then you're cleansing yourself. It might cause like a special bathroom moment. But, spiritual protection doesn't have to be that difficult. For a mermaid, for a siren, because we work with sound, air and water both have waves. You can turn on really happy music and raise your vibration. So you're getting rid of negativity. You can start dancing in your room. You can start singing really high-pitched sounds or ringing a bell. It can be simple to remove negative energy. It really can.
Oh, awesome. So what can people expect from you next in this digital chapter of your life?
More, I know I'm about to be popping off even more. I know people, they're like, oh my God, she yells at people, but it's like, I hate bullying and I hate bigotry. So it's like, if you can get up and spew out your nonsense, I'm going to get up and spew out my anger, but, they can expect more like connection. People have been begging me to get back into my YouTube, my Spotify, but with the store, God, I would be so tired by the time I got home. So now I'll have the time to just sit and create and really be on my phone. And I'm excited now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for people that are looking to start on this spiritual journey for the first time, like where should they look and how can they heed through the information and find like what's good and what's not good?
Are you asking like with me on my website, or are you asking in general, like with a spiritual path?
In general.
In general, honestly, to avoid honestly, at the beginning of a spiritual journey, a lot of people are going to feel overwhelmed. I just say go with your flow. I always tell people to go with your flow. If you feel this random urge to read into a certain deity or to read into a certain crystal, go with that. Because your intuition, for a lot of people, they say it's the ancestors talking to you. But you really have to like trust your feelings, because you're going to have all these people trying to tell you what they think you should do, because that's how we've been conditioned to think, dogmatic religion. So we've been conditioned to think that we're supposed to colonize everybody. We're supposed to colonize each other. So I would suggest finding your flow, just listening to how you feel. Do you want to do that or not? Just go with your flow.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. And like, there's so much information out there, but it seems like this kind of spiritual journey is very personal and like very intuitive, and what works for someone might not work for someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, speaking of mermaid and siren and like what works for some people, there are some mermaid deities that will not eat seafood because it's their children. But for other water deities, they're in the water. They got to eat something. So I'm one of those sirens. I eat seafood. I'm at the top of the food chain. That is where I am. But you're right. It's like one thing may work for somebody else, not for me. I'm also not a purple mermaid. I don't feel a calling to purple like that. People love me in purple, but I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. It's blue. It's blue for the water.
And
So you've said you're tired of seeing narratives that erase sex out of the siren. What are the dangers of separating sirens from sex?
To me, it's like, again, it goes back to the drought. So if people think that mermaids and sirens and water deities are these good girls who essentially keep their legs closed, they don't even have legs, but you fall, it's like that'll mess everything up. Because now we've lost the plot, we've lost the recipe. And again, I think it all leads back to like I think purity culture creates dry coochie. Not to be humorous, but I think, people end up not navigating their body. They end up not going to the doctor when they should, all because we keep condemning the body. So as people are navigating their spiritual path, the point is freedom. And we're still not free if we are still trying to restrict and limit the water within ourselves, our bodily fluids, aka the siren. So I'm like, no, the siren is sexual. The siren is sex when sex is needed. Um, I just want people to stop condemning because I think when we condemn sex, we're condemning ourselves. And I don't think a lot of people get that. But for those who do, it's important. I'm just trying to wake up as many people as possible. I know that I will never be able to convince everybody of anything, but yeah, we got to stop condemning ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are going to take a quick little break and just hear a word. We'll be right back.
The Queer Sex Workers Initiative for Refugees in Kenya is doing incredible work, despite the hurdles they experience in a country where being queer or a sex worker is illegal. They pay rent to maintain a shelter for their community members, one where they provide food and teach skills like creating crafts and jewelry. Their shelter and work is a safe haven for Kenyan refugees that identify as queer and or a sex worker. Visit qswir.org to learn more and to donate to their mission.
All right. So we are back with Lolo Lavish, and this has been an amazing conversation so far. I'm really excited to talk to you. And I've been following your Blue Dollar page for a while now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I learned about y'all. I'm really happy about this project that you have going on. I'm glad that you have a podcast like this.
Thank you. We're trying. We're doing it. So jumping back into Mermaids and Sirens, what does seduction as solution mean in practice for femme sex workers and the collective power?
Oh, same thing as when people say like a sweetening spell. I think we benefit a lot from misogyny and patriarchy, or we twist it, we transmute it because you allow certain people, you allow the bigots to think that, you're ignorant, you allow them to think that you're naive, and it works like charm, seducing people to sink their ships. That's quite literally the siren. So that's why I've been trying to produce more content specific to sex workers. I never wanted to separate sex workers from everybody else, but everybody else keeps doing that. So sex workers understand my business quite easily. They don't ask, hey, but it's other people that'll be like, you help sex workers. So are you going to help me if I'm not a sex worker? I'm like, yeah, what the hell? So I felt like I'm trying to show people it's not supposed to be separate. A spiritualist should be able to help a sex worker or a non-sex worker. It was never supposed to be separate, but my store is definitely Siren, which therefore is going to be sex work because that is quite literally Siren. So yeah, seduction is a solution a lot of the time. I tell people all the time, when it comes to politicians and you want to take down the government, you're going to have to do it with sex. You're going to have to do it with, because one thing a politician, a crooked cop, a crooked politician, one thing they love is a strip club. One thing they love is, like their special private accounts, so like they sign up for it every time. Like they're just sitting ducks. So, hey.
Sex workers have access to space that other women may never have access to.
Hello. Because, yeah, I tell, the men could close their legs, but they won't. So it's like, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I always talk about Josephine Baker during World War II became a French resistance spy. because she was already famous and already popular and already had access to all these other spaces that a Black woman at the time would have never been invited to.
Yeah.
And she was privy to certain conversations that no one would have been able to hear outside of those groups. And she was able to help a lot of people and harbor fugitives and get a lot of information to the resistance that actually helped win the war.
Yeah. That is why in Houston right now, there's a lot of men that I just learned that are very paranoid about me. I might not know them, but they're strip club bouncers, strip club security guards, strip club owners, rappers. They're very paranoid. It's a small collective of them, but they're very paranoid because some of the women who work with them or work for them have come to me. And now the men are running around paranoid. They don't really know, like, but that's the whole thing. You will never know. You'll never know. You might be looking at one girl because she's on my page, but it's like 15 others who have phone appointments. You're not going to know. You want to stay away from possibly, you know, having a siren sink your ship. You're going to have to close your strip club. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I'm like, whatever, because, you know, if you're doing something bigoted or messed up, then, oh, well, you know, I personally feel like the sirens need to take the club back for themselves. I feel like, you know, if you've never done sex work, I am going to kind of side eye how you get to own a strip club and kind of boss strippers around.
Amen.
Because it ain't just men. You know, we definitely have these women that are, well, I call them rivers in reverse. I call them dirty rivers. It's like they're trying to be the men. They're trying to receive the male approval, and by doing so, they work against their sisters. But no, I just think, you know, these sex work spaces really need to be led by sex workers, and we hate how the clubs are run anyway here in Houston. I don't know about other cities, but men can stay paranoid.
Exactly. And this kind of spirituality like shifts the balance of power and puts power into women and femmes' hands that they wouldn't normally have, and it scares a lot of men.
Yeah, they're looking for, you know, somebody in a head wrap, but really who's gonna hex them as a whole. So like, okay, you know, I could be a distraction, you know. I can't even, if I go to a club or I'll be at the vendor store with other men who make stripper clothes, they know me. And you know, I may not be able to walk in there, but one of my clients can and do exactly as they learned, you know. So, oh well to them.
And every single strip club dressing room I have ever been all over the country has always had at least one candle lit.
They
Everywhere.
going now. I did, when I was dancing, I didn't see altars, but now that spirituality is more of a trend, yeah, they got the altars on. The only thing I don't like that I recently learned is that some of the strip clubs, the owners, they'll set up altars, or they'll try to use like spiritual words. That has been pissing me off because it feels like they're trying to profit off of spirituality and convince some of the dancers that they're family and that, you know, oh, you can pray at this altar. But I'm like, I just don't like anything that reminds me of PIMP behavior. And I don't see why I need to put anything on an altar that essentially a man that I don't like made. But yeah, some of the clubs, they have altars that they, you know, they say it's a community altar. But I'm like, no, because I don't even want to be working for no man all my life. And a lot of dancers don't want to, but I feel conflicted about that. But
yeah. And this isn't an organized religion situation where the man gets to take the power and decide how things are done.
So look, they didn't get killed. Because like if I was in those clubs and you got an altar and the man built the altar, I'm putting some shit on your altar. I would be doing stuff all up and through the club. That's exactly why when I ended up at Sauce Walker, do you know Sauce Walker?
No, I don't.
He's a rapper. I think he's from Houston. I don't know. He's a rapper and he's very well known in Houston.
Yeah.
Some girls came to me and said that when he opened up a club, that he said he wanted mermaids in his club. And I did get offended. I was kind of like, no, don't use my shit. Don't be, But when I made my videos, I said, look, you don't want mermaids in your club. They're going to hex you. Mermaids capture men. Okay. Any woman that is known, she knows her spirituality. You don't want a siren in your club. I made my 2-3 videos about it. And then I ended up at his club. The people I was with, they just happened to bring me there. And I felt bad because some of the dancers were looking like they saw a ghost. I'm pretty sure some of them might thought, oh my God, this Lolo lady, she's in here hexing the fuck out of him. Oh my God. He shouldn't have said he want mermaids at his club because here go the mermaid mentor. He shouldn't have said that. Even he looked a little like, oh, I was not trying to be there. I got pulled there. He shouldn't have said he wants mermaids in his club. I tried to warn him. No. Good time.
Oh man. So what kind of services do you offer for dancers who want to learn from you?
Oh, well, if they're not in Houston, if it's just going to be digitally, I always try to create new like lesson plans. They're just Google Docs. They're literally just, I try to keep them short, 1-page Google Docs, for lots of spell tips. I like making ebooks, but they take a long time on Canva. But reading, over the phone, in the store, and then of course spiritual work. A lot of times, especially with this economy, if it's a dancer, basically the complaint is the club is slow. And after dancer becomes like a certain type of popularity, anybody really, any entertainer, the most common thing they want me to help them with is the fact that they are dealing with heavy duty jealousy that if you aren't popular, you're not dealing with. And jealousy is its own energy and it can start to feel like you're under a curse. I don't like to push fear. So I don't like to promote like, oh, you're cursed, but I will tell people, you might be sensitive to energy, especially if you are a watery person. You're kind of like a sponge. And that's mainly the concern. You'll hear dancers be like, the club is fucking slow. And I feel like there's a group of women that work against me at the club. I get a lot of web cameras. They just want to know how to do rituals on the camera, like anoint yourself with things, right? So we go over that. I help a lot of people with court issues because they're probably dealing with a misogynist. But yeah, it's the same, I've heard that other spiritual stores, when a sex worker books services, they try to tell them, oh, the solution to your healing is to stop doing sex work. And I always try to tell people, no, the fuck it's not. For a lot of us, sex work was the healing that we needed to, because for me, my self-esteem was really low. I was really naive. And when I started doing sex work, it's like, oh, I'm that bitch. And I'm not about to be with no broke ass man. It gives me like perspective, give me self-esteem. And it actually, going to sex work, I feel like it made me close my legs even more because now I'm like, I'm quantifying like, okay, am I benefiting from this somehow? Or is this just somebody that wants to use me? But yeah, most times it's the same thing when a sex worker is booking spiritual services. They're asking the same questions as a non-sex worker. They just want to know, how do I cleanse? I feel like I'm under a curse. I feel like I'm dealing with a generational curse. How do I make money? And how do I solve my love life? Those are the 3 top concerns that clients often have. So non-sex worker clients, they do think that sex workers are so different, but it's like, nope, we are human. We are just like you. We have the same questions.
Totally. So what brings you joy in your work as the High Siren?
Honestly, when I can tell that I help somebody realize they're not alone, or when I can tell I had like a emotional or spiritual impact on somebody, and they feel free, that always makes me feel really good. Being the Scorpio that I am, I have like 5 Scorpio placements. In my readings, I often channel some really dark things happening. I'm often the bearer of bad news. There might be a child predator in the family, things like that. And it can be pretty heavy. But I'm always excited when I can tell that the work I did helped somebody to feel better about themselves and not, because we're dealing with systematic oppression. So I feel like each person that I positively affect, they are now going to go positively affect somebody else. And that is always such a good feeling.
Yeah, totally. How do you handle those moments where you have to deliver a negative message?
What do I do? Oh God. Because I'm like, Scorpios can deal with dark shit. We are the darkest depths of the water. What do I do? I'm such a Scorpio. Honestly, I get off the phone with the client and I'm like, okay. Oh, Greg, I'm just a Scorpio. I'm sorry. Are you she, her? Because
Yeah,
I always say girl. What'd you say?
I am also she, her. Yeah,
Okay, but I be calling everybody a girl.
I do the same.
Yeah, you just made me realize like I'm so Scorpio. I don't even get that weighed down. Oh God, I I think venting online helps me a whole lot.
Mhm.
Before any internet fame, all it took. Well, I remember I was talking to my mom, and I'm just like, I got to figure out how to pay these bills because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm self-employed. Like this is some difficult stuff, and she was
Yeah.
like, "Well, you complain a lot," and I was like, "Okay, I'm super loud. She's super quiet." She's like, "Maybe you could complain to the internet," and I was like, "Okay, am I that complaintive? Oh my God!" But when I started just being myself on the internet, that is literally when I went viral.
Yes. The internet loves venting. They want to hear it.
Yeah. Because, it's like, it's relatable content. It's like, I'm mad about that too,
Yeah. Yeah. And like a lot of us are sick of hearing just the polished content, We want
Oh,
the realness.
oh, I can't stand that. Again, Scorpio, I can't stand fake performative spirituality. I feel like I'm okay with like fakeness if I could tell that you're like a content creator and you're showing off your fashion. I'm okay with I understand that being fake, but spirituality, like I want to see some real raw, authentic stuff. I don't want to see somebody that puts on a fake accent or they read off a script all day.
Yeah. But none of this Miss Cleo shit.
Or yeah.
Oh my goodness. So if people really understood your message, what transformation would you want to see in the world?
That people would be that we would stop condemning our body, that we would, dismantle misogyny, that we would be more sensitive to children, because that's another layer of the water, right? It's the womb. That we would be more sensitive to ourselves. We wouldn't be hard and because like misogyny feels like Mars and Saturn in reverse. It's like we're going to war for reasons we don't need to go to war, which is the Mars in reverse. And the Saturn in reverse is I'm working and there's no reward for it. I'm just working, 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 working. And I just want us to come back to ourselves. Like I said, or I don't know if I said, I've had other interviews with so sorry. The human body is 60 to 70% made of water. So we have to honor water. We got to find some balance. We can't just lean deeply into only one type of energy and nothing else, And I'm noticing people, like if you try to research water magic, like on TikTok or YouTube, you won't really see a lot. What you will see if you want to research spell work is candles, fire. You will see earth. You'll see earth element show up when people give lessons. You'll see air. So like, but you don't really see people talking specifically about water. And I think that's where the imbalance comes from. So that's what I feel like if people can experience my work, my words, and my wisdom, I feel like they would finally, we would no longer have drought, essentially.
Yeah. And do you have any like spiritual hygiene tips for our listeners? Like ways to protect ourselves or cleanse ourselves or?
Yeah. Okay. So in Greek culture, I know, and as well as other parts of the world, sirens actually flew before they swam. Some people even say that in the Greek mythology, sirens were flyers. They had wings, and they got into it with the muses. That's some story I heard from someone. And the muses won, and they cut off their wings. Well, oh my God! But if I were speaking on protecting yourself, something very simple and basic that comes from working with air and water because they both have waves is the voice and not listening to everybody. So one thing that I do for spiritual hygiene with the internet I do not look at all of my mentions. Anytime that people get mad at me on TikTok, and they make videos about me, they think I'm going to come watch the video. No, I'm not, because words can be witchcraft. I'm not going to sit and listen to a video by somebody that I already know. I don't know you. I don't have to listen to you. I don't know you. I'm not going to absorb, some nonsense coming out of your mouth, So I think spiritual hygiene can be more like, you're going to have to stop reading every comment, unless I guess it's for a business platform, but you're going to have to just, okay, like I can't listen to nonsense. Words are witchcraft. That Sirens, we have songs, and we know that I can just speak something over you. So if I know that, I'm not going to listen to anybody else. I know another tip I feel like is very basic is, again, honoring feelings, because you'll avoid going in the wrong direction a lot of the time. So it can be something simple like trying to figure out the color of clothing you want to wear for the day. If you put on a certain color and it makes you feel sick or weird, then just simply don't wear that color. The problem is with like the society we live in, where everything is about oppression. Oppression has convinced us, like I said, that we're supposed to tell each other what to do all the time and never focus on ourselves. Everything is so external. Patriarchy is external. It's been fucking us up, because then what you felt wasn't right for you, someone else says it is, and now you're never feeling right because you're wearing a color that you hate and you don't feel good in, but somebody else told you, oh, you're supposed to wear this color, blah, blah, blah. And now you're wearing this color because you thought somebody was supposed to tell you and now it's like you're just constantly having an out-of-body experience through your whole life. You're never connected to yourself. So that's another tip. I say follow your feelings. If you feel like you have a certain connection to someone, then go forth with that. If you feel like you need to eat a certain type of food or you don't, because a lot of African proverb you'll see, as well as Asian, your spirit already has a code. So they'll tell you when your baby doesn't like a certain food, let it go. Don't force them to eat it, because they could be a marina, they could be a mermaid, they could be, some sort of fire lord. You don't know. And you need to honor feelings, because we're like constantly, we're never in tune with ourselves. So yeah, follow feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to not looking at all your mentions, I have a saying that I like to say, don't take criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from. So consider the source of the criticism when you decide how much weight to put on it.
That is why I say, like, mermaids cannot learn from men, like non-queer men. No, we don't. No. Men are essentially supposed to be our captives. I say that all the time. Like, I'm a mermaid. You're a man. I cannot hear you. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't have advice from me, because you live your life completely different. It's like there's me being a queer woman, and then there's non-queer men. No, I don't even. That is exactly my mantra. Mermaids, we can't listen to men.
So here's a question. Do you think it's possible for men to identify as mermaids and sirens?
Yeah, but I have never met a non-queer man that identifies as a mermaid. It's always only ever been queer men that, they go by mermaid and merman. Some people don't even do the mermaid or merman. They just say, I'm a siren, to kind of skip over gender idea. But I have never met a straight cisgender man who identifies as a mermaid. So I guess that would be up to them to, dive into water. If they stop being transphobic, if they stop, with all this bigotry, then yeah, they could, but that's their fault that they can't. So.
Yeah. And do you think it's because of like the connection to water, of water to feminine energy?
Yeah, I think that if anybody is dedicated to hating femininity, then no, you're not ever going to really be a mermaid or access your inner mermaid, because it's water and it's femininity, and it means you have to honor creativity and femininity. So yeah, but that was a great question. It made me realize, no, I've never come across a straight cisgender man that identifies or even wants to identify as a mermaid. It's only ever been queer men asking me that question.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought.
I do
Um,
mermen, but I don't think they know they're mermen.
they don't know yet.
And I'm not telling them either because I refuse to have that. I refuse to be influenced by anybody. I don't tell them, but I think I've met some mermen.
How do you think that realization comes about when someone discovers that they are, in fact, a mermaid?
If it's anything like me, I went and got a reading. It was my first time getting a reading from anybody before. And I went to a store here in Houston and I was wearing blue, not intentionally, but I was wearing blue and green because I was always already doing that. And I remember the reader was like, "Are you Yemoja?" And I was like, "Huh? What is that? What are you talking about?" And
Mhm.
I knew it was another language. I'm like, "What did he just say to me?" But when I got up, this store has a certain section with the Orishas, the West African Yoruba deities,
Yeah.
and they have statues of the Orishas. And as I was walking by, I saw the statue of Yemoja. And I didn't know the Orishas. I didn't know anything, but I looked at the statue and I was like, why do I feel the need to buy this statue? Why do I want to buy some mermaid statue? What's that about? I even felt like something was saying, "Pick me up, bitch. Take me to the register, bitch." What's wrong with me? It was very early in my spiritual path. I felt like I'm crazy, and I think spirits talk to you in the language that you understand. So I kid you not, I felt like I was supposed to pick that, and I was, but I got in the car and I was like, "Black mermaid," and on Google, and then boom, Yemoja. So everybody's path is gonna look different, but it whoever you are, it was already there. It's like your birth chart. It was already there. You just might not have known. But like if you're a Libra, you were doing Libra things before you even knew about Libra things. So
Yep. And if the Orishas want you, they'll tell you.
yeah. So that happened.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. This has been really amazing. Is there anything that you would like our listeners to know right now? Anything about your digital offerings or your work or shifting power and perspective?
Honestly, even if the listeners don't come to my well, please take a look at my website. I think it's so pretty. I love bragging about it. It's full of blue and full of artwork. But even if people don't book with me, book with yourself, like check in with yourself. Because I really feel like if we can get to a space where we honor ourselves and we find out what does loving ourselves look like, then we really can start to dismantle different, forms of oppression. But just on your spiritual path or on your sex work path, it is a spiritual path of its own. Just follow your own flow, honor your feelings. That is the most important thing.
Absolutely. And where can we find more of you?
Oh, okay. So the store is pretty simple. It's just the blue dollar on TikTok and Instagram. My personal platform, I'm always going to be preaching the same thing. The Lolo Lavish. Now, I'm on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And if they want to visit the website, it's just thebluedollarbotanica.com. Oh, but I am going to get back into Big Mouth Mermaid, Spotify, podcast, as well as possibly the Mermaid Mentor. People are really, really getting on my ass about getting back into digital work. So going to try to answer that calling.
Get your voice out there.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot to keep up with sometimes.
Yes.
All the different things. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
talking to us. And thank you to our listeners. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and donate to what we're doing here to keep us going. This has been another episode of YAS Podcast. We'll see you next time.
YAS Podcast is produced by YAS Work, which is a nonprofit dedicated to educating and entertaining audiences about sex work through media. Learn more about how you can get involved in the podcast and our organization by visiting yaswork.org. That's YASWORK.org.